It's nearly impossible to imagine the world without Ozzy Osbourne in it. So let's not do that. Instead, we're going to celebrate a career, a life, a performer. One of my favorite tunes has always been Planet Caravan. And I kind of like anytime a group is doing something that's counter to form. Many of their songs are so doom and dark. And then to hear this song that's kind of jazzy, everybody's in the pocket, the vocals are super laid back. I had never really considered the lyrics until I sat down to make this today. And certain phrases always pop for me when I'm listening to it. I find myself mouthing the words, but I never really considered if there is a meaning to the song. To me, it almost feels like it's the journey from this life into another one. And so I picture Ozzy kind of departing like a soundtrack on that song, And I think it's one that eluded me early on, listening to Sabbath as a kid and learning some of those riffs, like, getting into Paranoid, getting into War Pigs, getting into The Wizard. Somehow, I really didn't discover that song until, Pantera kind of was the gateway for me, that listening to the Far Beyond Driven album and hearing that song on there, and they took it to, into an interesting place too, and obviously anyone who's ever played or listened to metal owes a debt to Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, and you can't overstate the influence that they've had and how ahead of their time they were, and how in some ways very progressive. Their music has blues elements, it has psychedelic elements, as heavy as anything from today that has ever happened since. They weren't afraid to do something like Planet Caravan, where they were stepping out and doing something different. To me, it feels like a meditation. And so that's what I did, the day I heard the news, which was yesterday, about Ozzy passing. It made me, brought back some memories of being a kid and listening or seeing my brother's albums, hearing my brother play the opening pieces to Diary of a Madman. I would hear coming from his room, and I remember being intrigued by that. It's one of the things that inspired me to want to play the guitar. I was lucky enough to see Ozzy live at Ozzfest with Sabbath. In connecting with this song yesterday and sitting down right now to record this today, I'm just passing it on as a meditation. The demonstration part of it that I did there, I was just kind of trying to channel the vibes, trying to channel Tony Iommi on that original album cut, and then also remembering how I felt listening to, Dimebag Darrell's very sleek and incredibly expressive, lively leads, without really thinking, just improving it and trying to feel those things. So, but I'll just quickly go through, play it in standard here. So I'm going to play the open E on the 6th string there. I would play the octave of that on the 7th fret. I'm using my pinky for that, of the A string. And then I'm going to fall back to this note on the D string, which is the 4th fret, so far. And then the next part, I'm kind of using this cascading up stroke picking. And you hear there's a little dissonance. Then tagging this E once again, the octave on the 7th fret, so that's why I like this grip. On the 5th fret of the D string, and then coming up to the 4th fret, and then again tagging that octave. And now here comes the next part. So I'm making this kind of major 3rd grip here. I got my middle finger on the 5th fret of the A string, pointer finger remains here on the 4th fret of the D string. Arpeggiating that in order: A string, D string, G, B. And then again, those same strings in order up to a point: A string, D string, G. And then I'm putting my pinky down on the 7th fret of the D string. Loop that. using my looper pedal somewhere down there. Here's the lovely Ditto looper. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I was mostly just trying to stay in, my buddy Gerald would call playing in the color of E. And so you're basically just finding different little passages in there. Some of it is kind of natural minor based. Some of it is Dorian, right? Those are the kind of more like jazzy and bluesy elements that are in there. Some of them are little chromatic passages, you know, so some of it was finding the arpeggios in there, but mostly, you know, we're just trying to get into the pocket, coming up with ideas to kind of decorate that that main riff. And that's the beauty of a song like this that is sort of a vamp in a way, where basically it's just that. Those are your two backup chords. And just in closing, I just want to say that, you know, Ozzy was somebody who was able to go toe-to-toe with world-class guitar players and create vocals and lyrics that were every bit as powerful and enigmatic as the classic riffs. You know, as we send off Ozzy, thank you for the amazing music and the inspiration. Thank you for bringing guitarists like Randy Rhoads, Jake E. Lee, Tony Iommi, Zakk Wylde into the spotlight, you know, and helping showcase their, you know, their talents and then melding together yours. And giving us music for the generations. So very grateful. Thank you. Everybody else, you know, use this as an opportunity to seize the day. See you on the next one.